will tell you that not everyone is cut out for business. And while that has some degree of truth to it, it's not absolutely correct. You can learn how to do business. Of course, for some people it will come a bit more natural, and for others they require a bit of work. But anyone can do business. Now, of course, business is a risky thing. I mean, you do invest quite an amount of money in a business, and you don't want to be among the 90% of business owners who fail in their first 5 years. You know, statistically, most businesses do fail. You want to be amongst the 10% who will succeed over the first 5 years. Now, I personally have done business for quite a number of years, and I've run businesses that make just $10 a day, and I've also run businesses and owned businesses that make over $1 million in a year. So I know a thing or two about business, and in today's video I want to share with you some of the tricks and the things that you don't want to miss out on for you to be successful in business. I mean, you don't want to just waste your money, so stick around right through to the very end. First thing, think about the customer and not yourself. You see, the idea of a business is that it is meant to serve others and not to serve you. Of course, you've heard about this very many times, but I do understand, but most probably you haven't understood it. Businesses serve others. Whether it is a B2B business, that means you're serving other businesses, or you're serving the final consumer, you're serving others. The idea is that the goal is for others and not for yourself. You know, a lot of people start businesses with this idea in mind. I like cooking, so I'll wake up someday and tell myself that I'm going to start a cooking business. So maybe I'll start a restaurant because I enjoy cooking. I love the whole idea of cooking. And then you'll start thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to start a restaurant. So who then will come to my restaurant? So the customer now becomes the back end. I mean, the customer becomes the afterthought of your desire. In the end, it's all about doing what you want. And a lot of people have actually developed this mindset. If someone is telling you about a business and you want to start a business, in your head, you'll start thinking to yourself, what do I like to do? What do I enjoy doing? What would I love doing? And if I then create this kind of business out of it, who then will be my customer? If you're doing it that way, then you're doing it the wrong way around. You're starting at the back end instead of starting at the front end. You need to start with the customer in mind. You need to start by first thinking about what does the customer need? And you see, the biggest cause of this is this kind of information and thought pattern that moves around the world, where people believe that you must do what you're talented at. You must be doing what you're good at. You must be doing what you're skilled at and what you already know. The thing about life is that a lot of times the things we think we are talented at are simply the things that have been exposed to us. For example, I do play the guitar. I wouldn't say that I'm very good at the guitar, but I do play the guitar. Now, because I do play the guitar, that doesn't mean that I'm talented at the guitar. I mean, there could be a kid somewhere deep in the Amazon who, if they only got exposure to the guitar for, 2 weeks, they would play like a wizard, like a proper wizard. They're certainly more talented than me, but they have no exposure to the guitar. I only play the guitar because I got exposed to it and I put in some form of effort and became good at it. Same thing with that kid. They could get exposed to it, put in some form of effort, and then do it 10 times better than me. Yeah. So me knowing it and knowing how to do it doesn't mean necessarily I'm talented. Now, if you go into business with the same mindset, you're certainly going to be failing. You need to understand that everyone has the capability to learn, only if you do put in an effort. For me personally, when I was starting out my business of chickens, I had no prior history to looking after chickens. I grew up in the city. I had no idea how to collect eggs, how to produce eggs, and how to do any of these things. But I told myself I want to start a business, and I identified that there was a gap in terms of poultry in the area that I was, and I was like, well, I got to do it. So I decided to read and start up and look for information about it. The idea was that the customer was the main goal. I was thinking and only focusing on the customer. And now I know you might be thinking, well, for some cases, customers don't know what they want, and you have to bring to them what they want for them to realize what they want. And I do believe that's true. I believe that's something I actually read in Steve Jobs' biography. Meanwhile, if you haven't read it, I think you need to read it. It's an awesome biography. This was a really creative guy who would discover things that people need without them knowing. For example, he came up with a mouse. People didn't know that they actually needed the mouse. They were using other things, and he invented the mouse, and people were like, wow, we actually love this thing. Everyone jumped up with it. Same thing with the iPhone. I mean, phones were different, completely different, and he came up with this idea of what a phone should look like, and then he brought it up, and despite the fact that it was never there, it caught off, and everyone wanted it. Now, that's still different. That's not him doing what he wants, yeah? That's him doing what others want, but they don't realize that they want. You see, it's different, yeah? It's different for others to want it and not realize that they want it, and you actually just wanting something and putting it out there. He knew that if he put it out there, people would want it. It's different from you just putting something out there and hoping that people will want it. So, first of all, start a business with the customer in mind, not yourself. You're not going to be serving yourself. You're not going to be buying the product when you make it. That service that you want to create, you're not the one going to buy it. So think about the customer first, and then everything else will come in connection. Second thing is hire the right people. Every business ideally becomes the first 10 people in the business. Now, this is something I actually read in a book called Influence. It's a great sales book. I think you should actually read it if you haven't read it. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. It's a very, very good sales book. You know, the thing about businesses, and I have personally discovered after I've started multiple businesses, is that the effort is in the first few people that you bring into the business. You need to make sure that these people have the drive, that these people have and understand the goals of the business, that these people are self-driven, that these people are ambitious, that these people are sold out to do exactly what you want them to do, you know, to do what the business wants to do. If you do get the right people starting out, then it becomes easy to get other people. The thing about life and businesses is that businesses attract people that are like them. So if you start a business and it's hopeless, and the people inside the business are hopeless, they don't keep time, they don't keep to schedules, they don't, you know, submit in work when it's supposed to be submitted in. When it comes time to bring in more people into the business, those are the kinds of people who are going to be coming in. The interesting bit is when you're starting out, you have some form of character, some form of personality. You know exactly what you want for the business. When you're hiring your next few people, you need to be very, very careful to make sure that the people you place in those positions are the kind of people who will rhyme with you. You understand? They don't need to be exactly like you, because, you know, you want different kinds of brains in a business. You want people who are creative, you want people who are different from you, so that everything is not monotonous, so that they can come up with things that you're not thinking about, but they should have the same drive, they should have the same goal, they should have the same focus like you. And when you create these people and bring them into the business, what usually happens is that if it's maybe 5 people, if it is 10 people, the 11th person who comes into the business has a very striking similarity with the first 10 people in the business. Yeah, it's very unlikely that the 11th and the 12th and the 50th who are going to come into the business are going to appear very different from the first 10. The first 10 set the culture of the business. They set how things are done around here in the business, and you want to pay a lot of attention while hiring the very first people in the business. So if you don't pay attention, if the first 10 people are hopeless people, the 11th is most certainly going to be hopeless. The 10 are going to attract a hopeless person, and they're going to be hopeless in the business. And of course, I hope by this time you've understood that you actually do need to hire people in the business. You see, a lot of people actually set up businesses and they think they can run businesses alone. If you think you're going to be running a business alone, you're going to fail. I mean, you can get to particular figures, but you can't expand beyond particular figures. Why? Because the thing about businesses is that it requires solutions. Businesses are solutions. Yeah, that's the whole thing about a business. It's a solution to another business's problem, to another person's problem. If it's a soda, for example, Coca-Cola, it's a solution to thirst, for example, a solution to a nice sweet taste that someone would want, you know, when they go out, something like that. So businesses are solutions. And so if you're going to be doing everything alone, you can reach a point where, you know, the creativity, the ability to come up with new ideas simply disappears, and you can only solve these issues if you have other people. So it's important that you hire other people, because first of all, other people know more things than you. You see, for me, for example, when I was starting out this YouTube channel, I imagined that I knew a lot of things. But after some time, and after me editing the YouTube videos, and also after me spending a lot of time going through things, coming up with ideas, I noticed that number one, I don't have the time to do all these things. But number two, there's certainly people who edit better than me. I looked at the YouTube videos and I was like, well, I think I edit well, but there are people who edit better than me. So how do I integrate these people into the channel? I also noticed that I don't have time, for example, to review the videos when the videos are made. I don't have time sometimes, you know, to think about the ideas and come up with ideas for the YouTube channel, because I have a lot of other things to do. So how about hire a channel manager, you know? How about hire a video editor? So I decided to get people like this on board onto the team, and this made me, I wouldn't say a bit, you know, way more effective. I started making better videos, I started having better ideas, and you know, when you do have multiple people in the system, your thinking goes a little bit out of the box, and so you can integrate all these ideas, and that simply simply makes the business more effective. But number two, hiring ensures that you have more time to become creative. So for me, when I had people to join the YouTube team, then I could spend more time, focusing on other aspects of the business, focusing on, the entire vision and the entire thought pattern of the business. Why? Because then I could get other people to focus on the things that I don't enjoy doing. For example, I don't really enjoy the editing. In the past, I used to enjoy it, but as I got busier, I started enjoying it less and less. But there are people who enjoy it, and the people love it. They enjoy what they are doing. So let them do what they enjoy, while I also do what I enjoy. But number three, for you to be able to scale and go to other places, multiple places, you need to hire. Yeah. When I was on the university, I used to work as an MC for a lot of events and a DJ a lot of times. So I could only be a DJ at one point on one day. I couldn't divide myself. If there was a place that they had called me and they wanted me to be a DJ, and another person called me on the same day, I certainly wouldn't be able to take it up. Yeah, I could only take up one place, because I was a single man business. Now, if I had hired other people, trained them on how I do my stuff so that they understand my style, and then they call me, I would be able to send this person over to go and, do the work in another place, because then I have divided myself, I've hired other people onto the team. So dividing yourself and bringing multiple people onto the team is how you can scale a business. Number three is focus on one business. Now, I know this is quite a controversial thing in a lot of spheres, but I'll tell you that I stand by it. I do see a lot of people who tell you, spread your risk. Place your eggs in different baskets so that just in case something happens, you have eggs in other baskets. And whilst that might seem like, something really logical, when it does come to business, most likely if you're spreading your eggs and putting them in different baskets, your chances of actually hitting a home run, your chances of making it big become significantly decreased. Very, very decreased. I'll give you an example. For me, when I was starting out in my poultry business, starting to raise chickens and, start selling eggs, for example, I started out with 1,000 chickens. Now, with 1,000 chickens, I was making maybe $30,000 a year in terms of revenue. But for me to get to the point where I'm making this $30,000 every year in revenue, I had to develop a lot of skills. I had to know how to raise chickens. I had to understand how to train and manage people on the farm. I had to understand how to sell, the products that I'm making. So I had to develop a lot of skills. And, these are really difficult skills to develop. They take quite some time. It took me a number of years for me to get to that point. So let's say maybe it takes you 4 or 5 years to get to that point. And so at the point where I'm making my $30,000 a year, I could decide that, hey, I'm going to use this $30,000 that I've gotten from this business to spread my risk and hence start another business. Maybe start a food business, something like that, yeah? Now that's another business where I have to start from ground zero. I have to develop these skills again. I have to develop how to do sales when it does come to food business. I have to understand how to do the cooking itself, how to manage people in a cooking business. Those are skills that might take me another 5 years before I reach the point of getting $30,000 in the food business. But if I was then to simply concentrate on my poultry business and just put this $30,000 back in the business, I can quickly and easily grow to $300,000 and $3 million in a year in a really short time. It could take you just 2 years, 3 years to get to $3 million in revenue over the year. Why? Because the very same skills you needed to utilize and harness and perfect to grow to $30,000 are the very same skills you're going to need to utilize to grow to $300,000. You're not going to need to develop a few more skills. Let's imagine that perfection in terms of raising chickens, let's say making $3 million a year in poultry, is a full glass. Yeah, the skills that you need would be a full glass. Yeah, now the skills that you need for you to grow to simply making $30,000 is like 90% of all the skills you'll ever need. Yeah, so you need 90% of the skills for you to make $30,000, and for you to grow from $30,000 to $3 million, you only need to increase by 10%. That's all you need. But if you're going to move away and start from zero again, you're just going to be wasting your time and all this talent in terms of the connections you've gotten, in terms of the skills you've gotten, in terms of the the money you've gotten. You're just going to be wasting it and starting from ground zero. So it simply makes more sense for you to focus on one business, put all your efforts in one business, and when it has grown, and it has grown so much that you feel like it can't grow any further, then you can spread your risk, go outside there, start another business and do the very same exact thing. So focus on one business if you want to make it really rich when it does come to business. And the number 4, learn how to sell. You see, in life, in business, in everything, selling is king. Selling is everything. I mean, if you want to marry someone, if you see a really beautiful lady, forget about marriage. You see a really beautiful lady, you're at the bar, you see a really beautiful lady, you want to go and convince her to be your lady. You're selling yourself. You have to perfect the selling skills. I'll tell you guys, someone who is very good at getting ladies from the club is most probably very good at starting businesses, because this kind of person is very creative. They know how to sell themselves. If they know how to sell themselves, they can sell anything. They can sell a guitar, they can sell, it's a bottle of soda, they can sell themselves. You understand? So you need to learn how to sell. Life is all about selling. A lot of people feel like sales is something difficult, it is something complicated. No, the very same skills you're trying to utilize to get a wife to marry are most probably the same skills you're going to have to utilize to sell a product to someone else. You need to be bold. You need to come out with particular skills. And so sales is so important. It is so critical. It will enable you get that huge revenue you've always wanted. I mean, for you to be able to sell products at really high prices, you must develop and perfect selling skills. Yeah, these are very, very important. You must perfect these selling skills. And when you do perfect these selling skills, then you can have more money to invest into your businesses, to do all the rest of the things that you've always wanted to do in your life. And so you're thinking to yourself, how the hell do I learn how to sell? I mean, there is information and things everywhere about how to sell. Talk about YouTube. A lot of people on YouTube are teaching you how to sell. Guys like Alex Hermosi, you can go and check them out on YouTube. Guys like Dan Lok. There's a lot of content about how to sell. People who make millions and millions of dollars, high ticket courses, things like that. A lot of such content on YouTube. You can do books. I mean, I've just been talking about the book called Influence. It's a sales book, a great book that I think you actually need to check out. Books like Sell or Be Sold. Books like Never Split the Difference, Negotiating Like Your Life Depends on It. You see, these are really important things and a lot of people overlook them. I mean, these books cost really, really cheap. I mean, I personally use Audible a lot because I don't have time, to sit down and get a notebook and start reading a notebook, or open my phone and start reading the book on my phone. But I spend a lot of time driving. I spend a lot of time, moving, traveling to other places, or I'm doing some work that doesn't really require me to pay a lot of attention in terms of listening. I'll just get the book out. So if you do a lot of driving, or maybe you have a commute, a 30-minute commute to work every morning, that's 30 minutes going, 30 minutes coming back, you can listen to an audiobook. So just go and get these books. I mean, the books cost what, 10, 20, 30 bucks. This is nothing compared to the knowledge that is present in those books. Yeah. So you need to invest in yourself. Invest, attend seminars, read a lot of sales information. I mean, YouTube is full of this stuff and this stuff is free. So acquire as much of this information as possible, utilize it in your businesses, and you're going to explode. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, you're most probably someone who cares about financial freedom. You're most probably someone who wants to make money. You're most probably someone who wants to, get out of poverty, someone who wants to get rich. Now, this video is simply a tip of the iceberg. I've made a video right here where I talk about, in 25 minutes, business advice that I've gotten over the past few years that I've been learning and doing business. Check it out. I trust you like it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. That way you never miss out on an upload. Catch you very soon with another one. Lots of love. Bye-bye.